Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Tokyo Living Podcast. We've got another sports edition today where we like to talk to people who are doing great things in the health, fitness, exercise and sports space. Somewhat of an institution in Tokyo in that space has been the Namban Rengo Running Club. And we've got Harrisson Uk on today to talk about the club. Harrisson, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Before we get started talking about Namban, perhaps if you could just give the listeners and viewers a bit of background about yourself, what brought you out to Japan, and perhaps just a bit of background on you as a runner.
Yeah, sure. First, thanks for having me in the show. And my name is Harrisson Uk or UK, whatever you want to call it. So I arrived in Japan about 13 years ago. And 13 years ago, Namban I was already there for a long time. Actually, it was created back in the 80s. So I was a little kid back then. When I joined, I just started running at that time.
Really?
And I was just running about a year. And then the first thing I did was to Google running in Tokyo. And at that time, the first thing you could find on Google was Namban Rengo. And so I joined on my second or third day in Tokyo, and this all started. And then I never left the club since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you someone who participates in marathons? Do you do some charity runs, or is it just sort of a social thing for you? How sort of seriously do you take your running?
So I consider myself as a pretty serious runner in the sense that running has since I started has become more and more important in my life, and it has become a passion and also my identity. I think yes, most runners, all serious runners see themselves as a runner, and then when you see it when the runner gets injured, it's like end of the world. So I'm typical. I'm a typical type of runner like that, and so I would race just like most of the people in the club, pretty frequently. I would say at least 5-6 times a year. And I would say I would have 1 or 2 important races a year called AKA A races, and in between them some B races. I would say maybe less frequently since the COVID era. But let's say before the COVID, I would say 2 A races and 4 to 5 B races. As when I say B races are training race, not that important. Yeah.
Sure. And you sort of alluded to at the start that the club was founded in the 80s. I believe it was Sir Bob.
It was Bob Poulson who actually left pretty recently. Bob Poulson created the club back in the 80s. He arrived in Japan, and at that time, as you could imagine, the number of foreigners were pretty small. The gaijin community was pretty small, and they participate in that very famous ekiden. Famous, at least in Japan, it's one of the oldest ekiden in Japan. It's called the Okutama Ekiden. So an ekiden, for those who don't know, it's a relay race where you pass a sash from station to station. Eki means station. Then it's the transmit. You transmit the sash, and it's 6 legs, and the total is you start from Ome, and then you go to Okutama and back. It's like 50K, around 50K. And at that time, Bob made a strong team of foreigners, and then he started to get more and more people involved in that group, and then this is how we all started. That group became sort of an informal club, and then it got bigger and bigger, and that's how we end up today with a very big group. Yeah.
Very cool. And so what does a typical training week look like for you guys? Do all the members train together, and how often do you train together, and how does the sort of whole logistics of the club work?
So when I joined, and I think it has been the case since the beginning, we have a weekly session, just once a week official, every Wednesday night, 7:15 p.m. I think it was 7:30 Then during COVID, it was 7, and then now it's 10:15.
Okay.
Well, let's say 7:15 now in present. And that consists of intervals. We split into 3 groups depending on the pace, and each week there's a different menu, and I design the menu on a weekly basis. I try to make it varied. And besides that, there is also another more like informal training every Saturday morning. It's called the Hill Repeats, where a smaller group. So the group on Wednesday, it's more like between 50 to 70 people.
Wow.
Group, yeah. And on Saturday, it's more like between 15 to 25 to 15, 20 people.
Yep.
Yeah, and so on Saturdays, Fury Beach, they do they run around Gosho, the Queen's Palace, and they dash 8 times 150 meters on the hill. So
Okay.
that's the same menu every Saturday, but on Wednesday, the official session every week is different, except the last Wednesday of each month where we do a time trial.
Okay. Yeah. And what sort of time trial do you do? Do you test the same time, test the same distance each time?
Yeah. So before, so just a bit of background. Bob left Japan in May, so I took over pretty recently, June the 1st. I mean, first Wednesday of June.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so at that back then, the Wednesday was the monthly time trial was a 5K time trial.
Okay.
So 5,000 meters every last Wednesday of the month, and now I try to give an adoption. So depending on the month, it's 5K always there, but there's another option of 3,000 meters or 10,000 meters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And do you, as a group, sort of participate in races and things together as well?
Yeah. So I think most people in Namban are serious runners. Of course, you have a small minority of people who are just here to for social running, I would say. But most people are there because they want to improve their running, and those people, for the vast majority of them, participate in races. So the way it would work is we have a mailing list. And so people who would sign up to race will often send an email, for example, okay, I got into this race, and who wants to join this race with me? Or is there anyone who plan to join this race? Or you have some people who are asking about races. And so that's how, through social media, through emails, how, some small groups of Namban forms and then race together on some event. There's no like official, okay, we're all going to go together to the same race. No, it's more like, small groups here and there. So because we are a big group, and I think we've seen most of the big races in Japan already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Did you have to sort of modify anything at all during COVID? Were you able to train through the whole?
Yeah, that was tough. That was a bit complicated because, well, first the track closed. The track closed for 2 reasons. First, because at that time it was it was COVID, and then it reopened, and then came what was the COVID? It was 2020. Yeah, so 2020 was the COVID and the Olympics.
Right.
So it closed for actually a year and a half. That was a long time without track. So what we do usually is we train in Yoyogi Koen.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a good option in the sense that it's pretty close to our usual venue.
Yeah. And sorry, for those who maybe not familiar, where did you usually train?
Oh, sorry. So the track is at Oda Field. It's a track in regular 400 meters track in Yogi Koen. Very close to it, like attached to it.
Yeah.
If you Google Oda Field, you'll find on Google Map pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the park, you the park itself is like maybe 400 meters away from the track.
Yeah.
So it's pretty convenient. So the closest station is either Yoyogi-koen or Meiji-Jigumae
Yep.
station, Harajuku.
Mm.
And so we would go there, and the thing with the track is that you can plan all kind of variety, right? Because the track is 400 meters, you can plan 200 meters, everything is marked 400 to 2000. But in Yoyogi and there is only the loop around the park basically. So
Sure.
we have to play with only 3 distance: 500 meters, 1000, and 2000, because we managed to measure the park.
So you actually measure that out.
Yeah, with the tape, with the tape, etc. So we know exactly where the 0 mark is, the 500 mark, 1000, and 2000. And so we kept that for about a year and a half. We never stopped going there. Of course, the number of runners decreased, because I think some people get concerned about the COVID, and also some others got lost kind of motivation to run in the park. It's not as good at the track. So I guess we're at that time with number were half, maybe it's a bit half.
Mm.
Yeah, but and then since then, since they opened the track, we've been back up to 50, 60 people on a weekly basis.
You've mentioned before sort of about your identity as a runner. And I think that's a really sort of cool aspect to touch on, because with any sort of athlete, and talk about an athlete, it doesn't need to be a very high level athlete. Anyone that is somewhat serious about their sport, I think, will identify, whether it's you're a runner or a crossfitter or a fighter or a golfer. And and you said, especially when you're injured, it does sort of affect your identity and who you are as a person. I obviously deal with that every day as a physiotherapist. People come in and they're worried that they can't sort of continue that sort of lifestyle as a runner or whatever thing it is they associate themselves with. But I think it's really cool to have a big group of individuals that all sort of identify the same and are really sort of passionate about that sport. How do you find sort of that community aspect of what you do, and all having a lot of like-minded people training together? What are some of the things that you really enjoy? Obviously, the training's been great, but there's probably more than just the training that has kept you with the club for so long.
Yeah, it's actually, once there is a natural bind that comes directly, because when you go to work, the common denominator is work. And when you meet friends, then you have to have something in common. But here, everyone or most people are passionate about running, and so everyone from different background, from any kind of work background or age or gender or whatever, are linked with just this passion of running. And so, because we see each other very often on a weekly basis, and sometimes actually often also outside of the regular training session, kind of a bond that's created. And for example, I'll give you just an example. A few years ago, I was I had, as a side job, so I do cakes. I bake cakes, and and there was a shortage of butter in Japan at that time. And then I sent an email to the mailing list, like I need butter because I need to make a cake or whatever. And then I got flooded by emails. Oh, I have some butter. I have a friend who go to Vietnam. I can ask him to bring you some. How much do you want? I received so many. I was overwhelmed by the response. And also I had another friend who went to France, and he couldn't find a place to stay over, and he could pay the hotel, but then for just logistic issues, he decided to send an email to ask the Namban community. So we sent an email to Namban list to a few people in France, and immediately got an answer. And then so that guy went to that other Namban member in France without knowing who they were, and they could stay. So that's the thing that is great about this club, is that a bond between the people in the group, creates naturally just from one common denominator, which is running. And so I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it when sport and physical activity can sort of bring people together and form communities like that. So that's
yeah, because I think people the thing is that you sweat together. Running is not it's not like say like basketball because when you race it's painful. It's pain.
Yeah.
It's pain from if you run 10K. It's the pain from the 500 meters in. You're in pain. It's painful until the end. And so you're suffering, and then you know you're suffering, and when you go to race or you go to training, everyone experiencing the same pain. And when it's over, you feel very happy, and you know that everyone feels happy the same way. And so I think this kind of shared emotion at the same time, everyone understand each other, and that's why one of the reasons why this bond is so strong.
So if people are also listening and watching and keen perhaps to get involved, where can people sort of find out a little bit more about Namban and perhaps get in contact?
Yeah, sure. So actually, it's pretty easy. You go on the
Namban, like you did, right?
yeah. You go on namban.org, and there is a form, and you just write your question, and that form actually will go directly to me, and usually I answer within 24 hours. So that's pretty easy, and the answer usually for me is the same. You can show up anytime. It's on Wednesday night at the field at 7:15. All you need to do is to run and to listen to the instructions of the workout, and that's it.
Yeah.
Show up.
And I guess this happens with any sort of sporting environment that, someone might see someone like you who's a very experienced runner and maybe be a little bit intimidated, but I'm assuming there's people there of all levels.
Yeah. So from people from high school, I think we got a kid who's like 17, 18 to early 60s, and pace from for some runners out there from 5-hour marathon to 2:30 marathons. So yeah, so it's pretty wide. We split into 3 groups.
Yeah,
it's not because short is the intervals are short. Short between 400 meters to about a mile. And so a mile, even if you're slow, you're not going to take 3 hours to run 1 mile. Right?
Sure.
So that's why we can encapsulate. We can get everyone together in the same training session.
Yeah, very cool. All right. Well, it's been great hearing a little bit more about the club, and thank you for coming on today and sharing all about Namban Rengo. We'll put the details in the show notes. So if anyone has been thinking about sort of getting back into running and needs a little bit of social support to go with that and a little bit of motivation, then get in contact with Harrisson and join in with the Namban Rengo group.
Thank you.
All right. Cheers, Harrisson. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.